Hey guys, good morning. Thank you for joining us for a very special Meta Money here on the BitBoy channel. And none other than Ben Armstrong of BitBoy Crypto is here to join us.
That's right, we're talking about the Metaverse, talking about the future of it, where it's coming, and how it's going to be.
And why we as a company are betting big on it.
Yeah, I bet really big on it. Y'all are the horses.
Yeah.
It's y'all. Y'all are my horses. I mean, Metaverse is obviously going to be gigantic. I mean, I kind of believe one day it's going to be even bigger than crypto in a sense, like, because it's really the merge of gaming and crypto and blockchain all together, and kind of and NFTs all together. And you got to think, like, out there in the general public, like, people are excited about cryptos, but it's people we know. It's like our little echo chamber. The people that are going to be excited about Metaverse and gaming is a much bigger pool than the people that are going to be excited about, crypto or investing.
Yeah, I definitely think that when you say like Metaverse could be bigger than crypto, I personally think it's going to save crypto with the gamification, with tokenizing and gamifying everything. Gamers are going to be what leads us into the future with it. 100%.
I don't think it's just gaming though. It's like what is going to connect us even more. It's going to really change the way we are and the way we communicate as humans. And I don't know what's going to come out of that, but it's going to be something bigger than just gaming. Like being able to go into a world and just communicate with other people. There's no borders in the Metaverse. Like once they're all connected, once all these different projects and everything are kind of working together, it's just community at its finest.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think that, when you look at like KuCoin, for instance, like KuCoin and Blocktopia, they're building digital offices, like an actual office building inside of a Metaverse. I think the way people remote work, telework, the way people do, all kinds of things, even dating in the Metaverse, I think this is going to drastically shape and transform like a lot of areas of people's lives they don't understand are going to be changed in the future.
Well, you have to think like and I would say this is maybe as far as I'm concerned and what we do with the Metaverse, the pandemic was sort of a blessing in disguise because it showed a lot of people like, yeah, you don't have to go to an office. You can continue to work. You can have your meetings. You can do what you need to do. Be productive from your own home, right there, in the interwebs.
Well, it's definitely possible. If you could do me a favor, though, just make sure that you don't go upstairs and tell the rest of the employees hear that.
We won't. So what is the tipping point, do you think, that brings mass adoption into the Metaverse? Because right now we're seeing it more of a gamification thing with like voxels and sandbox and stuff like that. But like, what is the thing that's really going to get people in there and like be aware of it?
Well, I think number one, Sandbox, to my knowledge, is the only one that right now is remotely playable. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's barely playable. Like the alpha seasons that they've opened up have been very closed off. Like our digital city for our BitBoy crypto land inside of Sandbox, it has not been open yet, even though we've got stuff built there. So I know
they're set for season 4, right?
Well, no. So I don't think it will be until actually like the alpha seasons for Sandbox, they're still closed circuit. Right. So they're not open. So when they start the actual season 1, that's where everything will be open, or hypothetically. But, that is a very kind of niched area, like people that like Roblox, people that like Minecraft, people that like that, voxel pixel style. They'll be really excited about it. But I think this is where kind of Everdome comes in, which is a project that I sat down with their founder, Rob, and discussed in this interview we'll look at in a few minutes. But it's a different niche. It is not a pixel niche. Their niche is a hyper-realistic Metaverse.
Oh, I think that's so important too. One, because of how real it actually looks. I mean, we got a chance to look at some of this stuff too. And, we were having a conversation earlier. It's like, for me, I'm not a gamer, right? I don't game. That's not my style. So having the more hyper-realistic look to it feels more normal. And like if I want to have a conversation, if I want to have a work meeting, if I want to go in there and navigate and walk around, I want things to look a little bit more normal and not like a game, not that pixelated, Minecraft or whatever look. So
or like the Nintendo Mii characters. You guys remember those for the Nintendo Wii when it first came out? With the little bobbleheads. They look like little pixels, or little Pez dispensers walking around, So I think that hyper-realistic, we'll hear more from Rob in a second on that. I think it's good stuff. And it got me excited. I think what you guys will see is after you watch this interview, you should be excited too about what's coming down the pipeline, not just for Everdome, but when you really start to explore the possibilities of what the different metaverses or the metavi
I like MetaVi. I'm a
the
MetaVi.
MetaVi, right? What they're going to look like. And, we definitely had further conversations with Everdome, kind of after this interview. And, maybe we can talk about some of that after you guys check out Rob from Everdome.
Let's check it out.
Hey, everybody. Today, I'm joined with Rob from Everdome. Super excited to be doing this interview. This has a lot of tie over with what we do with Meta Money with Brian and Justin and their channel. And excited to have you on. So, Rob, if you could kind of explain, what is your role with Everdome and just very basically what Everdome is?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Ben. And essentially, people may know us for a project called MetaHero, which was built to create high fidelity scans of people from, kind of like a bridge into the metaverse of people and objects. And what we realized after accomplishing that, at least the first stage of it, is that there was no metaverse that could support those models. It was mostly like voxels and kind of lower sort of fidelity metaverses being built. And there's a good reason for that. It's because it's just cheaper and faster and it's easier to find the people to build that. So I never had planned to build our own metaverse, but after doing the research, I realized I had no choice. If we are to utilize these, like 8K models and build a future-proof kind of ecosystem to utilize that in, we'd have to do it ourselves. And the stars just kind of aligned, and a huge team of around 30 people. It's a company that built an AR and VR. They reached out to us and they said, look, let's partner up and build this thing. And we've been hiring people from Netflix, from some of the biggest game developer studios in the world. And we now have around 50 people building what we call the first hyper-realistic kind of metaverse experience. And that's essentially the story behind Everdome. And to kind of give some context, the premise is that people get launched from Earth onto Mars, where we have these giant dome-like structures, hence the name Everdome, because you're immortalized in these dome structures. We're going to be having a land sale, but we can talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, it's bridging reality with kind of this fiction, science fiction, but we're keeping it real and kind of keeping it grounded in reality. So you get like an experience that you feel may not be much different than what you experience every day.
Yeah. So we have believed for a while that at least in the short term here, Sandbox is going to be the number one metaverse, and they've got a huge head start. Their game has already been launched. They've got a lot of stuff going on. But I've also said one other thing that I've said is that I do believe everyone does not want that voxel style. Everybody doesn't want, Roblox or Minecraft to be where they're living in the metaverse. And I think it's very interesting that I know just last week I said, I think we'll have something that's like hyper realistic that will come and be a really good competitor. I think that sounds very similar to what you guys are doing and kind of the basis for why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's a good reason why Sandbox is the way it is. It's just quick to build and execute, and it's a lot cheaper, easier to find the developers to build that kind of technology. But we have the technology to already make a hyper realistic metaverse. So it's difficult to find the people to do it. It's expensive. It takes more time. But with VR headsets getting cheaper and cheaper, and PCs and whatnot getting cheaper, with the NVIDIA graphics cards that can run like 4K resolutions, it is the future. And I think Sandbox and that type of style of metaverse will always have its place. But imagine 10 years from now, just look back 10 or 20 years. We didn't even, I don't know if you remember using 3DFX Voodoo cards. They just came out 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And in 10 years, I believe we'll have metaverses that are indistinguishable from everyday life. So yeah. Someone's got to lay the kind of the groundwork to make that happen. And I believe that's what we're doing right now.
Well, I think that begs the question: are we actually already in a metaverse and we don't know it? I mean, that's the idea, right? That some people believe. But I think one thing that really stood out to me is, you mentioned 8K images. Right now with just 4K, it's so much bandwidth, so much processing power. And so let me tell you a little bit about our experience building in Sandbox, because we've got a big land in Sandbox, and we've got professional builders that have been working on it. So I had a meeting with the team last week, and I said, hey, I would like to go in and see what we're building. I would like to go into the land, to the builder, and look around. And they said, well, that's not really possible. And I was like, what do you mean? They said, well, you'll have to go buy a supercomputer basically just to have enough power and bandwidth. And that's the only thing it does to upload all the files in the builder for you to just go in and look around. And I was like, wow, that's really crazy. What do you think that where we're heading with Metaverse says about our current, kind of levels of bandwidth and capacity and memory on computers? Like, are we looking at having to have supercomputers for some of this stuff in the near future? Or, what about projects like, storage and Filecoin and things like that help with computing power? Do you see a world where that becomes absolutely necessary?
Yeah, I mean, there's already certain companies that are looking to render in the cloud and essentially stream your VR experience into your headset or onto your computer. Maybe that is the way forward, but if you look at like a 5 to 10 year timeline, I believe the equipment will get so cheap that it'll be like having a mobile phone, like a Samsung or an Apple. Everybody will have a VR headset that can do 4K. I think it's just a matter of time, and you kind of got to assume that the hardware is going to catch up to the software capabilities, because the market does lag behind it. I mean, we deal with hardware in MetaHero, and people keep asking like, "What's up with the project?" Well, it takes time to build these things, to ship them with COVID, with all the delays and everything. We're trying to deploy it here in Dubai. We're getting the licenses and all that stuff. So software is quick, and then hardware catches up to it over time. So I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I definitely can see it. I mean, it's Moore's law, right? That's the one. It's like where, computer power gets twice as powerful every 2 years, and the ability to create it gets half the cost. But I think ultimately that's actually even speeding up. I think we're kind of breaking Moore's law, where the computer power is getting more powerful and more cheaper at even a higher rate.
Yeah, absolutely. And the demand is definitely there. So it's just a matter of time before the market catches up to the demand and starts producing these things for people. Like, crypto is growing exponentially, like it's doubling every year or more. So everything, like in 5 years, we'll have 3 billion people in crypto. It's unimaginable that we're still so early. Like it's like 97 with the internet. So it's
Well, I was looking, TJ and I, we are in we have a monthly meeting with a group of business owners, and we went to it this week, and it was like our week to kind of present like our business and things like that. And they were looking at the numbers and projections of crypto, and they're like, this doesn't make sense. It shows like by 2030, this is going to be like a $3 trillion industry. That's not market cap. That's kind of like, the almost kind of a GDP number almost of crypto and blockchain. And they were like, but food's only 800 billion. How is it 3.1 trillion? We're like, it's a new layer to the internet. You're comparing it to the internet is a better comparison. But I think that we are still so early, and it is really exciting to see it, and how early we all are in Metaverse. So speaking of early, you guys have your land sale coming up, and
that's correct.
Would be very interested to hear kind of some more details on that.
Yeah, so we're finalizing the auction system, which will sell around 9,000 plots. We've reserved a few for partners that are reaching out to us. So an interesting little bit of alpha, I can tell you that a lot of high value premium brands, they've avoided like Sandbox and those types of metaverses because they're detrimental to their brand. They were waiting. We've been approached by a few brands that said they've been waiting for something hyper realistic that could enhance their brand in the metaverse and in the digital world. We're also talking to actually one nation state that's been looking to get their tourism board on board with a hyper realistic metaverse. Sandbox may have been the first mover in let's say the version 1 of metaverse, but in terms of hyper realism, we feel like we're moving faster than anyone else, and there's a whole lot of big brands that have been waiting for that. And I say that because they're looking to buy up land, and our land sale will be taking place. I think it'll start in around 3 weeks or so, depending on how quickly we develop that platform. And we'll be selling it in parcels of around 900 to 1,000 land plots at a time. So everyone who missed previous land sales, I recommend you take a look at what we're offering, because we're building what we believe Everdome will be like at least a 10-year project. It's very future proof. We're looking to make it cross platforms. It's not just going to be VR and with Unreal 5 engine, but we have the people to make it happen, and they're already making it happen. And by the end of this year, I believe our team will be around 100 people, like a fully fledged game development studio. And I think another thing worth mentioning is that there are a lot of projects that are building metaverses, but to make something that people will actually want to play and for a long time, it's extremely difficult. It's far more difficult than building let's say a typical crypto project. to make something engaging that brings people together and like, stimulates them to make them want to keep playing, it's remarkably difficult. You need really seriously experienced game developers, and they're hard to come by, I gotta tell you.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly something people don't think about in these worlds. Like we've got a massive project that we're working on behind the scenes here. It's not a gaming project. It's something totally different. And we had to bring in like one of these, it's a top 5 development team in crypto period. And they're really expensive and they're very hard to find. Like it is really hard to find people that are of high quality that, have proven track record. So I can relate to you on that 100%. I think, just creating a game period that's engaging is a hard task, especially when you look across the board at how many games there are out there. And the fact that you guys are having to build that in the metaverse, keeping in mind everything will be using NFTs. It really restricts, what you can do. So really applaud you for that. So everybody, make sure you go check out Everdome. Check out the land sale coming up. We talk a lot about how, buying and selling real estate in the metaverse is something very beneficial. Our land and sandbox we bought for, I think it was about $50,000. It's worth $2.5 million right now to give people some perspective on, how this land can appreciate. It's not guaranteed, of course. So Rob, anything else you want to leave us with today?
Yeah, I would just maybe underline something that I typically tell people when they ask me for investment advice, which I just typically avoid. But what I'll say is, because I've before getting into crypto full time, I had a 250 person company, real world, like office, everything. It was crazy. I sold that. I funneled those finances into crypto at the right time, right before that crazy bull run. And I got to tell you, like, if you're investing, the marketing, it's easy to do, but what you got to look at is the people behind the product. And there's a lot of anonymous teams and that type of stuff out there. So
red flag, anonymous teams, red flags.
Yeah. You want someone who's putting their ass on the line and their whole
100%.
reputation, their whole career. Right. And when you want to look what they did in the past, you want to look what type of people they're bringing in, look at the team. And that's what I'd say. And we're making an effort to like publish exactly what our team members did. Like one guy was shortlisted by NASA to actually go to Mars. He's a space architect. Like we're really trying to get all sorts of talent to make this the most kind of vivid, lifelike Martian experience that you can have, practically simulating what it'd be like to actually go to Mars, and maybe getting Elon Musk interested. But that's what we're looking to do. It's a hell of a lot of fun. We're in this for the long term, and I recommend you checking out what we're working on.
Awesome, excited, and looking forward to you guys maybe making a cage match between me and Elon Musk available up there, either in real life on Mars or in the metaverse. I'll take either one. So Rob, thank you so much for joining us. You guys make sure to go check out Everdome.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the video so far. Before we get back to our sit down with Ben,
we did another video on Everdome on our channel on Meta Money, so make sure you check that out. Also, hit the like button on this video, and we'll see you for more Metaverse content. All right,
let's go.
Let's get back to it.
All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that interview with Rob Gryn, founder of Everdome. Ben, what were your takeaways on that?
Well, to be honest with you, going into this interview, I didn't know a ton about Everdome. That's one thing I like to do during these interviews, or really ask the questions that I want to know. So I definitely learned a lot, by asking them these different questions. And I walked away from this interview saying, I want to be more involved in Everdome. And so we, like I mentioned before, I teased a little bit, we are having conversations with Everdome right now about getting getting a plot there in Everdome. It's not official yet, but I think it's going to be official soon, that we will be, a part of that ecosystem, similarly to what we did with Sandbox. With Sandbox, we got in early, and the land we bought there for $50,000 is worth $2.5 million right now. And that shows the appreciation and the opportunities that exist with buying land in these metavi, if you will. And Everdome is definitely one that struck me as like, man, I want to be involved in this one for sure. And look, it's the kind of thing where, like let's say you're going into a football season and you're wanting to make some money betting on football teams, like which team is going to win the Super Bowl or which team is going to win the division. When you look at the teams that are going to win the Super Bowl, basically you could bet on like the first 7 teams with the best odds and still profit at the end of the year. Every horse you bet on, every team you bet on is not going to win the Super Bowl. Only one is going to win it. But when you pick a pool of those, you have a much better chance to win. And I think that's the way we look at investments in the metaverse. Is I'm not saying Everdome is going to win. I'm not going to say they're going to definitely be the biggest metaverse out there, but I think they're definitely one of the leaders when it comes to that hyper realistic niche of metaverse, and it's one we want to bet on.
For sure. One of the things that we say in a lot of the episodes and projects that we talk about is it's very important to get in early, and kind of, what you just hit on right there is like kind of plays along with that. It's like, it's an opportunity, and it's so new and fresh. There are so many opportunities, and this is a great one. We definitely like Everdome and MetaHero. And let's get scanned into the Everdome.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy. We tried to scan ourselves in the other day with just some phones, and it didn't work that well, and like Steven had to do it again and again. So having that like dome that probably gets it all very easily is going to be crazy. Like just going to get scanned in.
Well, if I'm thinking about scanning people in, like I'm thinking I've got this, this phone, I'm scanning Brian in, got a nice little thin chiseled physique, real easy to scan in. And then I move on over to Justin and me, and we're going to have a harder time getting scanned in.
Yeah, it's going to need a bigger camera, bigger lens.
I think we're going to need a bigger camera. Yeah.
Pull out the wide lens. Well, man, I appreciate you taking some time with us this morning to chat about the metaverse. It's important to us. I know it's important to you. So we're definitely going to see where this goes, where Everdome goes. Very excited. And thanks for checking out the interview and the episode of Ben.
See you later.